one of my favorite people, Commi3 Mark.
Огонь на подавление! Брат, сзади по левому флангу! Огонь! Прочь! Они...
That's right, comrades, I am Commi3 Mark, controversial communist comic creator and cultural commentator. Welcome, and boy oh boy do I have a treat for you today as we took our message to the streets, took direct action, demonstrating that we will never be silenced and standing up to our gatekeepers in the most Commi3 Mark of ways.
We're going to present him with this Gatekeeping Award, the Communist Gatekeeping Award.
Oh, this? I love this. I fully support whatever this is.
This week I did my own long march from my home here in the working class industrial heartlands of the UK to the bourgeois liberal elite capital of our nation, the financial capital of the world, to meet with my good friend and fellow YouTuber Aydin Paladin, and it was actually a really cool few days. There are a few things that I love more than drunken psycho-political philosophical debates about the state of the state and the evolution of the revolution at 4 AM on the streets of London like a sloshed Marx and Engels after a particularly hardcore night on the Victorian tiles. But I digress. Perhaps it was fate, perhaps it was destiny, perhaps it was just a pure mathematical coincidence in a cold and calculating, godless universe devoid of greater narrative meaning. But either way, I found myself at this point in time and space where I was a mere 7-minute walk away from a bookshop that I have beef with, this bookshop, Jam Bookshop, and obviously I recognise that I have beef with this tiny independent back alley bookshop is not a normal thing that a normal person says, but nobody ever accused me of being a normal person, did they? So, for more details and context about why I have a particular beef with this particular store, let's go live to Commi3 Mark on location in hipster Shoreditch for more information.
There's an event that's held in the UK every year called Small Press Day, which is for independent comic creators to promote their stuff, and they have events all over the country at different comic book shops where people come and they do signings, and you promote yourself on Twitter with the hashtag Small Press Day, all of that kind of jazz.
And all that jazz.
So 2 years ago, my other UK indie comic friends and I decided that we would take part in the Small Press Day event, and we was on Twitter liking all the tweets of people sharing their stuff with the hashtag Small Press Day, and we was using the hashtag as well to promote our own stuff, in the way that you use hashtags the way you're supposed to. And then the founder of the event came to us, said we had to stop using it, and he threatened to sue us, saying that he owned the trademark of the hashtag and it was up to him who could and couldn't use it, like real gatekeeper stuff.
So this is the guy, David Ziggy Green. And I'm not even gonna call him out for the cultural appropriation of a middle-class white boy using the name Ziggy, because, that's a dumb thing to cry about. That's not what culture is. That's not how culture works. That is an entirely different video. His biggest credit that I could find is he had a number of cartoons published in Private Eye, which is cool. Private Eye, for any Americans watching, is a satirical and current affairs news magazine which criticises public figures and exposes underreported scandals and cover-ups, much like this channel. It is the biggest selling magazine in the country, hands down, and it outsells every single comic by orders of magnitude. We're talking huge numbers here, like 250,000 copies a week, huge numbers. It is the satire magazine of our age and is highly influential. Without Private Eye, there is no Kim Il-sung and Best Career. There's a pretty straight cause and effect line that you can draw right there. So he crowdfunded £21,000 on Kickstarter to open a bookshop, the bookshop in question, Jam Bookshop. Opening a brick and mortar store in 2022 feels like a bad idea right off the bat, and then to focus it exclusively on inclusivity, doubly so. But in hipster Shoreditch, I mean, maybe if it's gonna work somewhere, it would be there, right? So naturally, I was watching this with great interest. At first, I got lovely warm feelings of schadenfreude when I'd see him complaining about how low sales were and about the lack of customers and how difficult running an inclusively inclusive bookstore was proving to be. But then I remembered about the absolute state of the comic industrial complex in this country, where our high streets are dominated by a corporate duopoly, a pair of rival high street chain megastores, both with the same name, Forbidden Planet. And don't get me started on our biggest publisher being owned by a company started by two millionaire Oxford graduates unironically calling themselves Rebellion. When I discovered where I'd be meeting Aydin just 7 minutes away, and that I had all these different ingredients to play with, I knew that I wanted to do something to make a point and ripple a message through the Whisper Network DM rooms that Commi3 Mark will not just roll over and die, that I'm coming, and whether you like it or not, at some point I'm gonna make you laugh at something. Eventually, I'll get you, I always do. And then I decided what to do.
We're going to present him with this Gatekeeping Award, the Communist Gatekeeping Award for the Jam Bookshop. So we're
number 2 gatekeeper. Let me make sure I got it.
Yeah, number 2 gatekeeper he is. Like,
Yep.
not quite good enough to be the number 1.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and give that to him and see how that goes.
All right, let's check it out.
But I think that I've teased you for long enough. That's enough sizzle. The video should hit the 10-minute mark now. It's probably time for me to give you what you've been waiting for. So here you go.
Yes. Yes, that's me. Yeah. Hi. I'm Commi3 Mark. Hi. What is this for? Gatekeeping Award. Right. That's got bigger slopes. Anyway, so now we can say you with the board.
To his credit, David was very chill and he took the whole thing on the chin, laughing numerous times at my jokes, and I'm sure it was quite disorientating having a homeless looking man show up to present you with an ironic award. in person, he reminded me a lot of my best friend from primary school when I was like 5 or whatever, that specific kid, and it was kind of disarming. If you do want to see the full, awkward, unedited version of the conversation that we had, then consider becoming a channel member and you'll get access to that and hundreds of hours of other content, either not good enough to go on main or just too damn spicy. And you'll get access to the Communist Game Discord, giving you a direct line of communication with me and the rest of our community. As far as I'm concerned, this beef is squashed. On my end at least, I have no ill will towards this man anymore. And I sincerely hope that he manages to keep his now award-winning store open until at least the next Small Press Day. Will this end the gatekeeping of Small Press Day? Probably not. I probably made it worse. But if I accidentally Streisanded a failing bookshop into the most notorious indie comic store in the country, and it manages to stay open as a result, that's an even bigger win. That's the end. I hope you learned something. Now, fuck off.